Imagine a young boy with boundless energy, a fearless spirit, and a mind hungry for truth. This boy would grow up to be one of the greatest spiritual leaders of modern India, Swami Vivekananda. In today's video, we delve into the incredible stories of his early life, the lessons he learned from his remarkable parents, and the pivotal moments that shaped his extraordinary journey. Welcome to Chapter 1, Part 2 of the biography of Swami Vivekananda. Let's continue exploring how an ordinary child became a beacon of wisdom and inspiration for the world. During these early years, Narendra's future personality was influenced by his gifted father and his saintly mother, both of whom kept a chastening eye upon him. The father had his own manner of discipline. For example, when, in the course of an argument with his mother, the impetuous boy once uttered a few rude words and the report came to the father. Vishwanath did not directly scold his son, but wrote with charcoal on the door of his room, "Narendra today said to his mother," and added the words that had been used. He wanted Narendra's friends to know how rudely he had treated his mother. Another time, Narendra bluntly asked his father, "What have you done for me?" Instead of being annoyed, Vishwanath said, "Go and look at yourself in the mirror, and then you will know." Still another day, Narendra said to his father, "How shall I conduct myself in the world?" "Never show surprise at anything," his father replied. This priceless advice enabled Narendranath, in his future checkered life, to preserve his serenity of mind, whether dwelling with princes in their palaces or sharing the straw huts of beggars. The mother, Bhuvaneswari, played her part in bringing out Narendranath's innate virtues. When he told her one day of having been unjustly treated in school, she said to him in consolation, "My child, what does it matter if you are in the right? Always follow the truth without caring about the result. Very often you may have to suffer injustice or unpleasant consequences for holding to the truth, but you must not, under any circumstances, abandon it." Many years later, Narendranath proudly said to an audience, "I am indebted to my mother for whatever knowledge I have acquired." One day, when he was fighting with his playfellows, Narendra accidentally fell from the porch and struck his forehead against a stone. The wound bled profusely and left a permanent scar over his right eye. Years later, when Ramakrishna heard of this accident, he remarked, "In a way it was a good thing. If he had not thus lost some of his blood, he would have created havoc in the world with his excessive energy." In 1871, at the age of 8, Narendra entered high school. His exceptional intelligence was soon recognized by his teachers and classmates. Though at first reluctant to study English because of its foreign origin, he soon took it up with avidity. But the curriculum consumed very little of his time. He used most of his inexhaustible energy in outside activities. Games of various kinds, many of which he invented or improvised, kept him occupied. He made an imitation gas works and a factory for aerating water, these two novelties having just been introduced in Calcutta. He organized an amateur theatrical company and a gymnasium, and took lessons in fencing, wrestling, rowing, and other manly sports. He also tried his hand at the art of cooking. Intensely restless, he would soon tire of one pastime and seek a new one. With his friends, he visited the museum and the zoological garden. He arbitrated the disputes of his playfellows and was a favorite with the people of the neighborhood. Everybody admired his courage, straightforwardness, and simplicity. From an early age, this remarkable youth had no patience with fear or superstition. One of his boyish pranks had been to climb a flowering tree belonging to a neighbor, pluck the flowers, and do other mischief. The owner of the tree, finding his remonstrances unheeded, once solemnly told Naren's friends that the tree was guarded by a white-robed ghost who would certainly wring their necks if they disturbed his peace. The boys were frightened and kept away, but Narendra persuaded them to follow him back, and he climbed the tree, enjoying his usual measure of fun, and broke some branches by way of further mischief. Turning to his friends, he then said, "What asses you all are, see my neck is still there." The old man's story is simply not true. Don't believe what others say unless you yourselves know it to be true. These simple but bold words were an indication of his future message to the world. Addressing large audiences in the later years, he would often say, "Do not believe in a thing because you have read about it in a book. Do not believe in a thing because another man has said it was true. Do not believe in words because they are hallowed by tradition. Find out the truth for yourself. Reason it out. That is realization." The following incident illustrates his courage and presence of mind. He one day wished to set up a heavy trapeze in the gymnasium, and so asked the help of some people who were there. Among them was an English sailor. The trapeze fell and knocked the sailor unconscious, and the crowd, thinking him dead, ran away for fear of the police. But Naren tore a piece from his cloth, bandaged the sailor's wound, washed his face with water, and gradually revived him. Then he moved the wounded man to a neighboring schoolhouse where he nursed him for a week. When the sailor had recovered, Naren sent him away with a little purse collected from his friends. All through this period of boyish play, Narendra retained his admiration for the life of the wandering monk. Pointing to a certain line on the palm of his hand, he would say to his friends, "I shall certainly become a sannyasi. A palmist has predicted it." As Narendra grew into adolescence, his temperament showed a marked change. He became keen about intellectual matters, read serious books on history and literature, devoured newspapers, and attended public meetings. Music was his favorite pastime. He insisted that it should express a lofty idea and arouse the feelings of the musician. At the age of 15, he experienced his first spiritual ecstasy. The family was journeying to Raipur in the central provinces, and part of the trip had to be made in a bullock cart. On that particular day, the air was crisp and clear. The trees and creepers were covered with green leaves and many-colored blossoms. Birds of brilliant plumage warbled in the woods. The cart was moving along a narrow pass where the lofty peaks rising on the two sides almost touched each other. Narendra's eyes spied a large beehive in the cleft of a giant cliff, and suddenly his mind was filled with awe and reverence for the divine providence. He lost outer consciousness and lay thus in the cart for a long time. Even after returning to the sense-perceived world, he radiated joy. Another interesting mental phenomenon may be mentioned here, for it was one often experienced by Narendranath. From boyhood, on first beholding certain people or places, he would feel that he had known them before, but how long before he could never remember. One day, he and some of his companions were in a room in a friend's house, where they were discussing various topics. Something was mentioned, and Narendra felt at once that he had on a previous occasion talked about the same subject with the self-same friends in that very house. He even correctly described every nook and corner of the building, which he had not seen before. He tried at first to explain this singular phenomenon by the doctrine of reincarnation, thinking that perhaps he had lived in that house in a previous life. But he dismissed the idea as improbable. Later he concluded that before his birth he must have had previsions of the people, places and events that he was to experience in his present incarnation. That was why he thought he could recognize them as soon as they presented themselves to him. At Raipur, Narendra was encouraged by his father to meet notable scholars and discuss with them various intellectual topics usually considered too abstruse for boys of his age. On such occasions, he exhibited great mental power. From his father, Narendra had learnt the art of grasping the essentials of things, seeing truth from the widest and most comprehensive standpoints, and holding to the real issue under discussion. In 1879, the family returned to Calcutta, and Narendra within a short time graduated from high school in the first division. In the meantime, he had read a great many standard books of English and Bengali literature. History was his favorite subject. He also acquired at this time an unusual method of reading a book and acquiring the knowledge of its subject matter. To quote his own words, "I could understand an author without reading every line of his book. I would read the first and last lines of a paragraph and grasp its meaning. Later I found that I could understand the subject matter by reading only the first and last lines of a page. Afterwards, I could follow the whole trend of a writer's argument by merely reading a few lines, though the author himself tried to explain the subject in 5 or more pages. Soon the excitement of his boyhood days was over, and in 1879, Narendranath entered the Presidency College of Calcutta for higher studies. After a year, he joined the General Assembly's institution, founded by the Scottish General Missionary Board and later known as the Scottish Church College. It was from Hastie, the principal of the college and the professor of English literature, that he first heard the name Sri Ramakrishna. As we continue our journey through the life of Swami Vivekananda, we've seen how his childhood and early influences shaped him into a bold and inquisitive young man. But his college years were no less transformative. In the next episode, we'll explore how Narendra's academic brilliance, his growing spiritual unrest, and his encounter with the revered Sri Ramakrishna set the stage for his incredible journey towards becoming a spiritual icon. Stay tuned as we uncover the pivotal moments that would change his life forever. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.